we finally finished with cleaning up the skin, so I want to move to the next part, and this is probably my favorite part, and it's working with contrasts. I love contrasts. I love strong contrasting image, so this will be just perfect. I will show you fantastic technique how to have full control on your contrast without many other techniques. I just want to show you the one thing that I mostly use and that works great. So we have to create two curve adjustment layers. One will be responsible for highlights, so let's call this highlights, and the other one will be responsible for shadows. Okay, so we have highlights, of course, highlights and shadows, and we need to change blending mode from normal to luminosity. Why? I'm going to show you this on this example. When I'm pulling this up, as you can see, the thing that I was telling you before, we have the saturation issue. So when we change this into luminosity, once again, that wasn't working well, we do not affecting the colors anymore. Of course, a little bit better result probably could be achieved by the manual adjustments like through saturation, but I was working always that way, and this gives you really good results. So let's go back, and here also luminosity. So let's start with our highlights. What I do, I'm going to select and color range. In color range, you have possibility of choosing specific color defined on your image. So for example, if I go into reds, probably the lips will be more white. And what happened in here, this is the mask that it's creating over here. So we creating a mask. If I go with yellows, probably there will be more of the face defined. Also, in the color range, we have option of choosing highlights, midtones, and shadows. So of course I'm choosing highlights over here, and the range, very important to keep it as a maximum. And then fuzziness, I go up with this. I go up with fuzziness till the point it nicely define the highlights. So that could be maybe around this 87, quite high. As you can see, it's very different when we work with studio images. Usually the fuzziness is lower because we have the other lines, so it's easier to define highlights. But right now, I would go around this part. I think it's quite solid. That was something I want to get on the face. Let's hit OK. And then I'm going to make the selection of these highlights. So I'm going to press Command or Control, hit on this, and put on the shadows as an inverted layer. So that will be our shadows defined. Let's have a look. Shadows, highlights. That's what it is going to look like. One thing over here that I might be not happy will be her clothes getting too bright, but let's see how it's going to look, and if it's going to look wrong, then we're just going to mask it. So I'm opening my curve and just going up with this. And what's happening? We only affect the highlights. That's how amazing it works. And truth be told, I'm not against the clothes. They're not too bright, so I don't want to change them for now. If you want to mask the clothes, what you do? You press outer option, hit on the mask so you can see how the mask looks like. Choose the brush and black color of the brush, a little bigger, and press X to actually to switch between colors. Press D to reset them, and to switch just press X on your keyboard. And then with black color I would mask the clothes. So then the effect would be not visible, as you can see, in this area. But I don't want this. I think it looks decent, so I'm going to keep it as it is. Now going to shadows, and with shadows be really careful because the mask for shadows is much wider with the white color. So you can have this information that the shadows will be much stronger and much more visible. So I'm going to open the curve and just a little bit down, like really tiny bit, and I'm going to go up here around the middle to not make this. So that's our shadows. It's quite strong, so if you feel it's strong, you can always just change the opacity just a little bit to 80%, 70%, really depending on your need. So that's how it looks like, strong highlights and strong shadows. The things I like the most: contrasts, let's see, and that's before and after. I really love to define the shadows and highlights that strong way. I like when the image pops out, and this was something I wanted to achieve. So, and that's how I do this. Of course, you can change your effect. It doesn't have to be that strong. You can always make it soften. You don't have to put that much. You can define your highlights in different way. You can also define your highlights with fuzziness at 100%, so the effect will be more smooth, which could work better even for some outdoor images. That gives you really a lot of control. So let's move now into the next lesson.